What's going on, folks? MrBucketlist here. Hope everybody's doing okay. You're doing well. I want to drop another podcast. So as you all know, I have a cruise coming up, and so I figured this would be a great time to kind of give my input, my thoughts on cruising versus land trips. And which one do I prefer? Let's check it out. Now, before we get started on the main topic for tonight, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for staying with the channel, continuously helping it grow. I really appreciate it, you all. You have no idea. Again, I love seeing you all's comments and just kind of feedback and things like that. And I apologize. A lot of my attention got distracted on things like TikTok and Instagram. And to me, it's a waste of time. I mean, I already have a built community of a family over here on YouTube. I don't know why I'm spending so much time on those other platforms. So it basically has come to a stop. It's just a lot easier to reply to you all over there. That's why I do it. But this is my true home, YouTube. So I am back. I'm trying my hardest to get some real content out, not just shorts and podcasts like this. So thank you again for being here. Again, I have a cruise coming up on Margaritaville at sea as of Thanksgiving Day. So Thursday, which is about 3 days from today's recording. I'm pretty excited. I went all the way out. I got the VIP package. I'll have internet, so if you all want to hit me up, I will be available. I'm gonna try to do a live stream at the very end of the cruise and potentially the beginning of the cruise. That's coming, so look out for that. That's gonna be my first time doing something like that, so I'm pretty excited. Let's get to it. So I really wanted to make this video primarily for people that are solo travelers, but this goes for anybody in general that's watching this video. It's my opinion on cruising versus land trips. So first, let's start off with the positives, and I want to go with cruising first. So the main things that are positive to me when it comes to cruising is it's cheaper. More things are included. So it's like a traveling hotel. It has your room, it has all your food that's included, alcohol, if you have a drink package. Just depending on the level of package, you can pretty much go on a cruise ship and not have to spend any additional money if you get the right package or if you have the right type of expectations. It's doable. You don't have to spend any more money past your initial cruise fare if you choose to do so. Less planning involved. A lot of people don't like to plan. They just want to go on vacation and that be it. That's why they go to people like travel agents and stuff like that. I'll get into my opinions on that in a little bit, but again, it's less planning if you go on a cruise ship. Guaranteed entertainment. Obviously, you all have watched my videos, you know. Cruise ships have some of the most entertainment on any type of area, thing at sea. So any type of vessel at sea, a cruise ship is going to be loaded with entertainment. Of course, things like Royal Caribbean and the Oasis class ships, now the Icon class. It is basically, people compare it to theme parks all the time, and it's true. It's similar to being in a theme park. It's unlimited entertainment. The biggest difference is it has entertainment for both kids and adults, where theme parks are generally just for the family, so it's not really like a breakdown like that. Again, if you're going as a solo or even as a family, you have guaranteed company, so guaranteed potentially friends that you may meet. I have not been on the cruise ship yet where I have not talked to anybody and become friends with them, and they eventually added me on social media, or they got my number, or they follow me on YouTube. I've never had a cruise that has not involved something like that. And then the last thing, this is kind of just highlights, but the last thing that comes to mind for me and my experience outside of Alaska is cruises are generally safer. Obviously they don't want people getting hurt because then they'll get sued at the wazoo. When you're on a solo trip by yourself, a land trip, not so much. But those are the big positives when it comes to cruising. Now, when it comes to land trips, the big thing that stands out for me is the possibilities are endless. And what I basically mean about that is you can almost just book and plan anything. You all have seen my solo trips, even though they don't really get promoted that much. And I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Pretty much when I choose my land trips, I pretty much say, this is where I want to go on Earth. This is what I want to do. And I follow it to a T. The next big thing is, again, it's completely customizable. So I love planning. I'm someone that loves planning because I want to make sure I'm getting the right footage. I'm actually having the right fun. I'm making sure that I'm checking off my bucket list. If you all don't know, I actually do have a real bucket list. And I'm at number 176 or 7 right now. I can't really remember. But it's past the 100s. And the reason why I've gotten that far is because of my land trips. Each and every time I do a land trip, I have to knock off something off my bucket list. I try to do that with cruises, but it's not always available. Again, you can go virtually anywhere, like I just said. Just it's truly up to you and your budget, but you can go anywhere. You can also make spontaneous changes. When it comes to a cruise ship and an excursion, for example, once you book that excursion and the 24-hour window comes up, you're not changing that. If you do change it, you're not getting a refund back. You're pretty much locked into that excursion, and or if it gets canceled, you're pretty much just SOL. But when it comes to land trips, for the most part, unless you book something in advance and they have like a no refund policy, you can switch things up in a heartbeat. I mean, I know that from experience because I almost do it on every single trip. If a place is too packed or the weather's too bad, I'll just switch the days up and just go to a different day. It's beautiful. It's just, honestly, that is the reason why I still do land trips. I mean, the flexibility, I'm a very flexible person, and just the flexibility and the variety, I love it. And lastly, when it comes to the highlights of land trips, I would say the ability to travel any time of the year. If you all have seen some of my solo documentaries, one of my favorite solo trips ever, this is before I went to Alaska, was my trip to the Northeast. It was so funny when I was in some restaurant up there. It was a bunch of Italian people, and they kept looking at me strange, like, who is this random guy? Like, they could tell I wasn't from around there. So we started talking. They actually were really nice. And they were like, why would you come up here when it's all this snow and stuff? I'm like, because I want to go snow sledding with some dogs. I want to go snowmobiling. I'm from Florida. Like, we're not going to get this down here. And so they were just so puzzled. But then when they kind of realized, like, I'm a YouTuber and I do this type of stuff on a regular basis, they was like, oh, we get it. And they kind of were like, oh, that's so cool. And so just when it comes to cruising, it's just not like that. I mean, as you all know, cruise ships have a schedule. They very rarely deviate from that schedule, and they're not available all year round. So, I mean, you can cruise on the cruise ship almost any time of the year, but you're not going to find particular itineraries certain times of the year. That's just the way cruising works. Not only that, but once you book that cruise, I mean, it's really hard to be flexible and cancel it and change it, stuff like that, without getting some type of penalty, whether it's losing your deposit, whether it's not getting a full refund, whether it's just not being able to cancel at all. It's so many restrictions when it comes to cruising versus land trips. I mean, if you want to just switch it up, just switch it up. It's not that big of a deal. So that's going to bring me to my negatives. Now, when it comes to the negatives for both cruising and land trips, they are pretty much interchangeable. You can pretty much, all the positives I gave for cruising are basically negatives for land trips and vice versa. But there are some standouts that really help me make my decisions when I plan my trips. When it comes to the big negatives, as I call them, for cruising, my biggest issue is repetition. Now, I know some people, when they hear that, they're like, repetition? What are you talking about? And so just kind of look at me in my position. So no, I'm not a cruise vlogger. I know a lot of people have that title and they're fine with it. That's not me. Like, I don't try to cruise as much as possible. I like to have a variety. But even saying that, for example, I've been on 4 Royal Caribbean cruises and I have tried every single item on the main dining room's menu. Like, that's how repetitive it's gotten. Like, I'm literally, on my next cruise I have with them in January, every meal I'm going to have on there is going to be something I've already had before. And I mean, between that and the shows, yes, the shows are different, but they all have that same style. It's basically like looking at the show and just having different actors or different performers. It's the same thing in a different setting or a different ship. And it's just, for someone like me that kind of combs through cruise ships, tours cruise ships, does videos, does hour-long documentaries, things like that, it gets extremely repetitive. And I'm just like, I would rather pay a little bit more or do something else to have a different experience. So that's honestly my biggest drawback when it comes to cruising, just repetitive. Especially as a solo cruiser, when you're with friends are unpredictable. And so, I mean, you can either have an amazing time, you can have a bad time, it could be an okay time. You really just don't know how things are going to play out. For me, I mean, as a solo cruiser, if I'm not having a bad time, I'm just going to go away. I'm just going to go to my room. I'm going to go lay down. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to leave the situation. And that has happened plenty of times before. And so, again, it's just, I don't necessarily have a bad time outside of fighting bums in Alaska. But outside of that, I don't really have a bad time when it comes to cruises, but it gets kind of samey, if you get what I'm saying. Now, as far as the negatives for the big standout negative for land trips, that actually comes with the cost. The cost can be extremely expensive. I'll give you an example. The flight alone from Tampa to Denver, my most recent solo trip, the flight alone cost more than my entire cruise that I just booked on MSC in the yacht club. That makes no sense. We're talking about just the flight. So I mean, when I got there, I went to multiple theme parks. I went to 2 of them. I went to 4 different museums. I rented a car, all this stuff. And like I said, the price alone just for the flight, and I didn't even do first class because it wasn't available. I didn't even do economy class. I did the economy plus class, and it cost more than my entire cruise in a first class setting on a cruise ship. Now, granted, it's MSC. People can say whatever they want about them. I love MSC, but it's first class, and MSC was cheaper than just a flight to get to Denver. So that is my biggest issue. Now, when it comes to the cost of excursions on cruises are jacked up. They're skyrocketed compared to what they would cost if you just book it on your own. Fortunately, I am used to doing things on my own, so I don't really spend that much when it comes to third-party excursions. But yeah, that's my biggest issue. I mean, I would do a lot more land trips if they didn't cost so much. But I mean, I can give you an example. That trip I took to Colorado was close to $10,000, and that was like for like maybe 5 or 6 days out there. So yeah. So now that I gave you all kind of the breakdown of the positives and the negatives, which one do I prefer and why? To be honest, I don't want to be a cop-out. I will say this, obviously I love them both, but I do have a breakdown on which one I would prefer, and that would actually be land trips over cruising. Again, I love to plan. Now, if I didn't like to plan, if I didn't like to make videos and stuff like that, like I love the whole aspect of making a video, from planning to execution to recording to making the video, the editing, to actually seeing feedback, like you all give me comments. And so when I cruise, a lot of that's missing because it's already done for me. The only thing I have to do is just do excursions, and even that, I mean, it's limited. So I would have to say it goes to land trips. Again, I can't do that many land trips as I want to because I'm not trying to spend $10,000 every time I travel somewhere. And yeah, that was extreme for Colorado. But I know because I live in Florida, that's the reason why I'm here. I can easily go to a cruise port, no issue whatsoever, spend less than $1,000, have a great time. So that's the reason why I do cruise more than I would like to. But at the same time, ideally, I would prefer to do land trips. Now, another thing as well is when it comes to my land trips, it's weird. I don't know how to really market it on YouTube. So my cruise videos, as you all probably have come to my channel from those cruise videos, they're so easy to title and tag and stuff like that. It's easy for the algorithm to pick up. You put the name of the cruise ship, you put that you're a solo traveler, bang, people are going to find it. Versus, hey, I did this amazing trip that cost me $10,000 in Colorado, and it gets like 200 views. Like, I mean, I'm not a views person, but when it comes to actually getting feedback of what you all want to see, it is nearly impossible to try to even market one of my solo travel videos because I just don't know how, and obviously the algorithm, whatever I'm doing just is not working. So I spend hours and a lot of money on those videos and nothing happens out of it. So that's another positive I would say for my cruising content. It's much more easier to get feedback and just have you all actually engage with it because you know what to look for. So yeah, that is my opinion on cruising versus land trips. Now, a couple more things. One is, as far as my land trips, like I said earlier, I do go to a lot of theme parks on my land trips. And so, ironically, my most viewed videos on my channel are all theme park videos. So a good majority of those videos come from my land trips. And it just kind of sucks because I'm like, I've done so much more outside of just going to the dang park. And nobody sees it. But again, I really appreciate y'all watching those videos because I do that. It's usually my first time going to a theme park, and I do that while on vacation. So it's not like I have special access or anything like that. I just walk in there with a camera and just keep it rolling. Now, the last thing I kind of want to go over is as far as just some tips. So say, for example, if you're watching this video, you see my solo cruise content, and now you're thinking about land trips. You want to know, like, how did I get started? What happened? What got me going? My best recommendations is to try a solo cruise first, and I would recommend to try it too. So my first solo trip in general was on the NCL Epic. It was a 4-night cruise, and then I loved it so much I did one a few months later on the NCL Breakaway on a 7-night cruise, and that just kind of took me over the top. I was like, you know what, if I can do this, I can go and do anything. And I mean, it wasn't only because I was sitting around with other solo cruisers and stuff like that, but just the conversations I had with them. They all kind of had the same mentality as I had, where they say, you know what, this is my first time solo traveling. I feel like I can do anything. And for me, it was my second time. So I'm like, man, they're saying this, I know I can do this. And so it was just a really good reassurance that, look, it's not weird. People do this all the time. It can be fun if I know what I'm doing. If I'm safe, if I'm comfortable, it can be fun. And then of course, right after the breakaway, that's when the pandemic started. And so it's like I was like either travel by myself or not travel at all, because this is the age of social distancing. So I did. I went and bought that vacation home in Tennessee, and I went up there and just had a good time. And I loved it so much, I ended up making an up north trip where I went to Hershey Park and Six Flags Six Flags Great Adventure, and it just has not stopped since then. So again, my best recommendations, and this goes for both men and women, do a solo cruise. Maybe do a short solo cruise or a 7-nighter if you're up in the mood or whatever, but do a solo cruise so you can at least have that structured solo experience and then just kind of go from there. But I'll say this, just know when you go on a solo cruise, there are going to be some sharp differences versus if you're exploring a city by yourself. The freedom's almost going to feel unlimited on a land trip, but it's also going to be kind of scary, because you're going to be like, man, I'm in this city by myself. Like, what do I do? What happens? It's going to leave you a lot of unanswered questions until you actually get there. But do that solo cruise first. Maybe explore the port or something on your own so you can kind of get that feel, but still be associated with the cruise and go from there. I hope you all enjoyed this quick little update, this quick podcast. I just want to give you all something before this cruise. Again, I will be trying to post live on the cruise itself, so hopefully the day of the cruise and then the last day of the cruise. It's only a 2-night cruise, but I'm going to try my hardest to post so I can give you all like a real-time feedback. I've never done that on YouTube, and I've been trying to do it for the longest now. So again, I hope you all enjoy this. Please leave me some comments, leave me some likes, whatever you want to do to support the channel. You know I'm here. I'll talk to you soon. MrBucketlist signing out.